In 2020, when I was still 17 years old, I had an unforgettable adventure in the legendary forest known as the Haunted Forest. Its name alone was enough to evoke fear in anyone's heart. Stories of ghosts and unknown creatures were often talked about among the villagers. However, as a passionate and curious young man, I never believed in such tales. To me, the forest was simply a place of untouched natural beauty, with towering trees and small rivers flowing through clusters of foliage. One bright summer day, I decided to venture into the haunted forest alone. My father, an experienced hunter and hiker, had often taken me into forests since I was young. He taught me many things about surviving in the wild, and I felt confident that I could face any challenge ahead. As an enthusiastic teenager, I prepared the necessary equipment: a compass, map, folding knife, and some snacks. I felt ready to face anything, despite my friends' doubts. They warned me about the dangers that might lurk in the forest, but I confidently reassured them that I would be fine. With the sun rising in the blue sky, I entered the haunted forest with excitement and curiosity in my heart. My steps were light and swift, following paths I had memorized from the map. Sunlight swept through gaps in the leaves, creating patterns of light and shadow on the grass-covered ground. It felt like exploring a new world I had never seen before. The fresh air and scent of wildflowers filled my nose, while the sounds of birds and small insects provided a soothing background. However, the deeper I ventured into the forest, the stronger an unsettling feeling crept into my heart. At one point, I realized that this forest was not as I had imagined. The dense canopy made it difficult for sunlight to penetrate, creating a dark and eerie atmosphere. Strange sounds began to surround me. Rustling leaves, buzzing insects, and occasionally, unfamiliar noises that I couldn't identify. I paused for a moment, trying to calm myself. "Just shadows," I whispered to myself. "This forest is safe. I've faced worse things before." But the unease didn't dissipate. It felt like something was lurking behind every tree, waiting for an opportunity to strike. I decided to quicken my pace, hoping to get out of this tense atmosphere as soon as possible. As the sun began to set in the west, I realized that I was lost. The map I carried seemed useless, as thickets and large trees continued to obstruct my view. I tried not to panic, but the sudden darkness descending made my heart race. With nervous steps, I continued to search for a way out. However, the obstacles seemed to increase with time. Thick foliage and towering roots lined paths that appeared endless. The forest became darker and quieter. The lively sounds from earlier now faded, leaving me in an eerie silence. Attempts to call friends or family failed. My phone signal vanished inside the forest. I felt completely isolated, with no choice but to find a way out on my own. As night truly fell, I stopped to rest beneath a large, leafy tree. With a heart nearly desperate, I prayed for a light at the end of this tunnel. My mind drifted to stories I had heard about this forest, stories that no longer sounded like mere fairy tales. I decided to rest for a moment, considering my next steps. As I closed my eyes, I heard something strange. Footsteps. There was no reason for anyone else to be here but me, so the sound sent shivers down my spine. I tried to dismiss the thought and focus on finding a way out. Suddenly, from behind the bushes near me, emerged a dark figure. My heart stopped for a moment, then pounded loudly. I stood upright, facing the figure as it approached. It began to reveal itself, an old man with a long beard and ragged clothes. "You're lost too, huh?" the man asked in a deep, hoarse voice. Yes, I'm lost," I replied, trembling. The man smiled faintly. "Fear not, young one. I can help you, but we must hurry. The night in this forest can be very dangerous." He offered me his hand, and I took it hesitantly. He guided me through thickets and denser paths, showing me a way that seemed invisible on the map. I felt grateful to have met him, though his presence had been somewhat frightening at first. We walked in silence, only the sound of our footsteps and the remaining forest creatures moving in the darkness. The man gave me some advice on surviving in the forest, such as finding clean water and interpreting natural signs for direction. I absorbed every word he said carefully, feeling more confident that I would emerge safely from this situation. After what seemed like an endless time, we finally reached the edge of the forest. I nearly cried with relief at the dim light from outside. The old man bid me farewell after making sure I knew the way home. I thanked him sincerely, feeling that our meeting had not been mere chance. With a heart full of gratitude, I stepped out of the haunted forest and returned to the village. Worried faces of friends and family greeted my arrival. They wondered what had happened, and I recounted my harrowing experience in detail. Since then, I have learned many lessons from that experience. I learned about the importance of thorough preparation before embarking on any adventure, no matter how trivial it may seem. The experience in the mountains in 2021, when I had just turned 18, still haunts my mind with unforgettable details. This time, I decided to embark on a solo hike to a remote mountain known for its stunning natural beauty, but also its ruggedness and accompanying dangers. I prepared more thoroughly this time. My gear included a lightweight tent, sleeping bag, detailed map, emergency communication device, and enough food and water for several days. My goal was to seek solitude in the wilderness and test my self-reliance in a more extreme environment than before. The journey started out clear. The blue sky stretched above me as I began ascending through the well-known open trail. The fresh air and gentle breeze accompanied my steps, reminding me of the excitement that drew me to the wilderness. However, as always, mountain weather can change rapidly. As the sun began to set, dark clouds covered the sky, and the wind picked up. I felt a bit uneasy, but, recalling the training and knowledge imparted by my father, I continued with confidence. After several hours of hiking, I reached the summit, which offered an incredible view. Mountains rose high in the distance, and green valleys stretched out below me. I felt as if I was the only person in the world, surrounded by unparalleled beauty. I set up my tent near the summit for the night. That night, the wind was cold, and the stars shone brightly in the dark sky. Sitting outside the tent, I reflected on how small I was compared to the vast universe. As my small campfire cast a soft glow, I felt peaceful and satisfied with my decision to embark on this adventure. However, everything changed the next morning. When I woke up, I found that a thick fog had descended in the valley below, completely obscuring my view. I felt uneasy about the possibility of getting lost if I descended into the fog, but I decided to remain calm and wait until the fog began to clear. Unfortunately, the fog did not improve. I waited for hours, but my view remained blocked by the dense fog. I began to feel anxious and wondered if I should attempt to descend without a clear view. However, I knew how dangerous it could be to descend without visual guidance, given the potential hazards such as cliffs and steep slopes on this mountain. Eventually, I decided to use my emergency communication device to call for help. I sent an emergency signal and provided my location as accurately as possible based on the map I carried. I was relieved that I had prepared well by bringing this device, although I hoped I wouldn't have to use it. I waited anxiously, but eventually, I heard the sound of a helicopter approaching. Shortly after, a rescue team arrived and assisted me in safely descending from the mountain. I was immensely grateful to them for their prompt response to my emergency call. After this experience, I learned that sometimes conditions in the wild can change without warning. Thorough preparation and adequate knowledge are key to ensuring safety in unpredictable environments. I also learned the importance of not panicking in difficult situations, but rather staying calm and making sound decisions. Although the experience was tense, I do not regret it. It strengthened me and enhanced my survival skills and sense of self-reliance. I will always appreciate the beauty of nature and the challenges it offers, but now with a deeper understanding of the vigilance and preparation needed to explore it safely.